Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out on such a nice summer night. It's not raining. Madam Town Clerk, is there a quorum? Yes. With the time being 6:30 and a quorum present, we will begin our special town meeting of today, June 3rd, 2025. Clarissa, may I have the warrant? The return of the warrant shows it was properly served by a constable of West Brookfield on April 30th, 2025. Thank you, Clarissa. Can we stand and salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a brief moment of silence, please. Thank you very much, folks. I would like to take a brief moment to introduce some of our town leaders. Working very hard on this special town meeting and the annual to follow, our town clerk, Clarissa Rose, her assistant, Pamela Sarah, our board of selectmen, the chair, Mr. Roland Sickenberger, Mr. Brad Merkel, and our newest selectman, Catherine Lamika. Our town administrator, Teresa Kofsky, our assistant to the board of selectmen and town administrator, Beth Gobey, our advisory board, the chair is Laurie Laughlin, Mr. Dan Moberg, Michael Audette, and MJ Haish. This special town meeting is going to consist of 6 articles. Before we proceed, I would move that the meeting allow the following to sit with the board of selectmen: the town administrator, Teresa Kofsky, administrative assistant, Beth Gobey, and town council, Heather White. Is there any discussion? May I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? So be it. Is it moved? I move that the meeting allow the following non-residents to speak to the meeting: Teresa Kofsky, Heather White, and I don't think, Chief, you're not. Is there anyone else I'm missing for the special? No. Could I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So if you wish to speak after we do the articles, please rise. I will recognize you. Please begin by stating your name. And we will start with Article 1. I move that the town appropriate the sum of $20,000 from free cash to supplement appropriations previously voted under Article 4 at the annual town meeting of June 4th, 2024 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 24. The sums are as follows. The total is $20,000, and it's for Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Associations for the health insurance. Is there a second? Thank you. Advisory board? Select board? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? There being none, it's unanimous. Article 2, unpaid bills. I move that the town transfer from available funds the sum of $3,267.58 to pay the following unpaid bills previous fiscal years, and to meet the appropriation, transfer the sum of $3,267.58 from free cash as shown in the handout. Is there a second? Advisory?
Advisory recommends approval.
Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is unanimous. Article 3, I move that the town transfer the sum of $100,000 to the Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust Fund, and to meet said appropriation, transfer the sum of $100,000 from free cash to such fund. Is there a second?
Second.
Advisory? Board of Selectmen?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all approve? Say aye. Opposed? There being none, it is unanimous. Article 4, accrued unpaid liabilities and compensated absences. I move that the town transfer from available funds a sum of $72,000 to the town's reserve fund for future payments of accrued liabilities for compensated absences as created and authorized previously by town meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13D, and to meet said appropriation, transfer the sum of $72,000 from free cash to such fund. Is there a second?
Second.
Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Opposed? There being none, it is unanimous. Article 5, this motion, there is a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends postponement.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? There being none, article is postponed. Article 6, there is a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 6. There is a second. Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends postponement.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? There being none, the article is indefinitely postponed. And with that, I move that this special town meeting be dissolved. Is there a second? Motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? There being none, this meeting is dissolved. Good evening again, folks. Welcome to our annual town meeting. Madam Town Clerk, is there a quorum?
Yes.
May I please have the warrant? With the time being 7:02 p.m. and a quorum present, we will begin our annual town meeting of today, June 3rd, 2025. The return of the warrant shows it was properly served by a constable of West Brookfield on April 30th, 2025. Thank you. If we could stand and salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In a brief moment of silence, please. Thank you very much, folks. I know I did the introductions before, but for all the newcomers, I'd like to introduce our town clerk, Clarissa Rose, her assistant, Pamela Serra, our Board of Selectmen, the chairman, Mr. Roland Sickenberger, Mr. Brad Merkel, Catherine Lamika, and welcome to Kathy, she's our newest selectman. Our town administrator, Teresa Kofsky, our assistant to the Board of Selectmen and town administrator, Beth Gobey. Our advisory board, Laurie Laughlin is the chair, Dan Moberg, Michael Audette, and MJ Hayes. Before we proceed with the annual, I move that the meeting allow the following to sit with the Board of Selectmen: our town administrator, Teresa Kofsky, our administrative assistant, Beth Gobey, and town council, Heather White. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Being none, it is unanimous. I move the meeting allow the following non-residents to speak at the meeting: Teresa Kofsky, Beth Gobey, Heather White, John Madden, Nathan Hagland, Jim Daly, Jillian Patch, Donna Allard, and Kelly Hitt. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. There being none, it is unanimous. Tonight, our annual town meeting is going to consist of 15 articles. With this in mind, let us be fair in our deliberation. Please be efficient and effective in our actions. And if you wish to speak, please rise. I will recognize you. Please state your name and speak clearly into the microphone. Out of consideration to others who may want to speak, please try to limit yourselves to about 3 minutes. All motions or amendment must be in writing. The Board of Selectmen will now give a brief address. Mr. Sickenberger.
Good evening, everyone.
Sound?
Hello?
There you go.
Always a good way to start a talk, right? On the day of our annual town meeting, I believe it's appropriate to take a few minutes and reflect on the events of the past year. Our town continues to struggle with employee turnover. In the past year, we've had to say goodbye to many town employees: Ron St. Angelo, our former TA, Heather Goff, our former town clerk, Tammy Kemp, who was our highway superintendent's administrative assistant, our veteran services representative, Ellen Moore, numerous police officers, firefighters, and highway department employees. The town also lost one of its preeminent citizens, Mr. Bill Jenkins. Bill loved this town and spent a large portion of his life in service to the community and was the driving force behind the town historical commission for many years. Now that I've told you about the employees we've lost, I would like to welcome those who have joined our team this past year. Teresa Kofsky, our new TA, Clarissa Rose, our new town clerk, Pamela Serra, our new assistant town clerk, and Michelle Durkee, our new veteran services representative, as well as numerous police officers, firefighters, and other public service employees. I would also like to welcome our newest member to the Board of Selectmen, Cami Lamika, who has replaced Eric Von Blaken. There have also been a number of accomplishments this past year. The Route 9 project has begun, which will result in safer travel along Route 9 between West Brookfield and Ware, and is being spearheaded by the tireless efforts of our highway superintendent, Jim Daly. We were able to purchase a desperately needed fire truck, thanks in no small part to the efforts of our fire chief, Richard LaPierre. The town has reformed the Cable Access Committee, headed by Mr. Palapinas, with the goal of getting our various town meetings broadcast via cable and live streaming after being absent for many years. The town has also formed a capital planning committee, led by Mr. David Brown. charged with helping the town navigate the complexities of long-term capital spending. Despite the many financial and logistical challenges, we in town government continue to look forward, always seeking ways to best serve the town we all share and love. The greatest challenge continues to be how to weigh the financial needs of our town as funding sources disappear, with the recognition of the increasing burden property taxes have placed for our residents. For years, town officials have been stating the need for a Proposition 2.5 override. Every year, the state mandates that the town spends 5 to 7% more on our schools, while our ability to raise funds to meet this mandate is severely restricted. For years, we've been saying this is unsustainable and will reach a time when spending cuts are unavoidable. After we view the advisory board's presentation, it will be clear that we've reached that time. If the fiscal 2026 budget passes this evening, we will have only approximately $16,000 left in free cash. It is unlikely that this will be enough for us to balance the budget in fiscal year 2027, and we will be faced with some very hard decisions on what services will have to be cut to balance our budget. Unless, of course, the town passes a Prop 2.5 override in the next 12 months. We understand that this is a very dark outlook, but we cannot in good conscience leave you unprepared for the cuts that may be coming soon. I would like to thank everyone for coming. It's apparent by the number of people here tonight that we all care deeply about our town. I truly believe that by working together, we'll be able to overcome any difficulties that come our way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sickamburg. And the advisory committee will now give their presentation.
Now it is. Here we go. Can you hear now? A little higher? How's that? Great. Okay. Again, I'm Michael Audette, one of the 4 members of the advisory committee. The advisory committee is approved by the selectmen by bylaw, and I might add right now that we are short a member, so this is my advertisement. So if anyone here would like to serve on the advisory committee, you could talk to one of the selectmen or someone on the advisory committee, and we'd be happy to have you come aboard, because we need help. Next. So the advisory committee, our goal is to review both income and expense budgets to make sure that they're done so that we are physically able to meet our goals. And also, we also look at warrants, we approve warrants, we make recommendations that hopefully can improve every aspect of our town, and certainly in terms of finance. Go ahead. So we're going to talk about the budget process, the proposed budget, and then the financial resources that we have. So the budget process has really been streamlined in the past few years because we have our TA, our town administrator. As you can tell by the booklet you have now, that really helps along everyone here to understand the budgets and the articles and the warrants. The advisory committee receives budgets after they're submitted to the town administrator in around January. And the town administrator goes through with each of the heads of departments, looks at their budgets, makes recommendations, makes sometimes cuts, sometimes we have to add things depending on what's needed. And then those budgets come to the advisory committee during the year. The advisory committee, this past year, we met over 20 times, 20 meetings that are posted, that everyone's invited to come. Not many people come, but everyone in town should come to understand more about the budgets. At some point, sometimes pretty late in the year, like today, this year, we finally finalized the budget so we can bring it to the town here tonight for your approval. It's not the advisory committee's approval, it's the town. This meeting is going to approve these budgets tonight. Go ahead. So, these are the revenue estimates for this year. Most of the revenue, as you probably realize, come from real estate taxes, about $7.6 million. State aid is $1.1 million, and those would be aid for the schools, for the highway department, various departments. And then local receipts, which are basically your excise tax, fees on meals taxes, permits, etc. Next. As you know, there is a 2.5% Proposition 2.5 levy limit. This year, the limit is calculated at $7.3 million. Go ahead. The proposed budget, just for so you can probably understand a little bit more where the money is being spent. Not surprisingly, the school takes up over 50% of the town's budget. That's followed by public safety, both fire and police, and then the town's benefits and insurances for its employees, as you can see. Go ahead. This year, our revenues are up by $500,000. State aid is minuscule, $32,000 is up. And we anticipate that will continue to be in the coming years. We're not getting that money from the state. We also get local receipts, again, from excise tax or meals taxes and that type of thing. It was up a little bit, $50,000. The bad news is our expenditures are $750,000. So we're short just on the budget by $405,000. The bottom line, as you can see, is the overlay surplus. That is from the assessors have an overlay surplus that they have for tax rebates or whatever, but they found that this year that, which was approved by the state, that they could give back to the town $48,000. Go ahead. So here's the bad news is that we have revenues, anticipated revenues of $9.8 million and budgeted expenditures of $10.2 million for a shortfall of $453,000. That $453 is going to come out of what we call free cash. Go ahead. So free cash is normally what we say is it's the bank's checking account. So to relate it to our own personal accounts, we have a checking account. We also have, some of us at least, hopefully have a savings account. And this town does have a savings account as well. But as you saw, if you were here for this special, we've forgone those, two of those, the capital stabilization fund, thank you, has been postponed indefinitely. So anyhow, we have free cash. We add back unspent amounts. So if a department didn't spend something last year, those funds come back into the general revenue account. Go ahead. So here we are. We have certified by the Department of Revenue in June, $969,000 in free cash. The special town meeting, we voted already voted $196,000, less what we're going to ask to have you vote tonight, the shortfall of $405,000, And I'm sorry, what you will vote tonight at this meeting, $351,000 more, which will remain, as Roland had said earlier, a $17,000 balance to start free cash. Go ahead. Go to the next one. So this is a history of how we use that free cash that's provided by the state. And I don't know if you can all see that, but on the bottom line is the percentage of free cash we've been using since 2017. And those percentages, they're different every year, but they average 90%. So we're using 90% on any given year of our free cash to meet our operating expenses. Go ahead. Yep. So, as I said earlier, get involved. Okay, we need people in town here to help us along. If you want to join the advisory committee, we do have a position. Come in, ask questions. Some of these meetings may be televised next year if we approve parts of our budget. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Michael. Article 1, there is no vote on Article 1. It's the results of the election. Is everyone aware of the results of the election? If not, it is posted on the town's website. Article 2, likewise, there is no vote to be taken. And it's to accept the annual town report. And I know there were some out front, so if you wish, you can grab the annual town report. And bear with me on Article 3. Article 3 is our omnibus budget. And the first part of the omnibus budget is motion 1. Oh, I forgot us, town employees. The pay for elected town officials. Sorry about that. There is a handout, ATM 01, that Teresa did for us. So the elected officials, the moderator in fiscal 26 was 450. That's requested level funded at 450. Selectmen, each 2 members, $1,500. The fiscal 26 level fund at $1,500. The select chairman, $1,500. Level fund for 26 at $1,500. The assessors, each 2 members. Fiscal 26 Board of Selectmen was $29.13 12. The advisory committee recommends $1,500. One assessors clerk, Board of Selectmen was $41.61 The advisory board recommends $2,000. The Board of Health, 2 members, $915.11 is level funded. Board of Health chairman, $1,144.40, level funded for fiscal 26. The town clerk, $33,908.93. The advisory committee recommends $33,908.93. The water commissioners each level funded $455 for both years. Is there a second? Advisory? Select board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
David Wilner, in Burrington Road. There was another omnibus budget comparison.
We'll get to that.
Oh, well, it says selectman salary, 137,000. What's the, I don't understand the difference between
We'll
this salary.
get to that
and
when
this
we do the actual budget.
salary. Okay, so that's, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure. Is there any other discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? There being none, the article is unanimous.
Mr. Chair, the two columns were different for the select board and for the advisory board. Which one did we just vote to approve?
Would there be a motion to differentiate? Mr. Siegenberg?
The select board supports the advisory board column.
Is there a second? He's saying that the Board of Selectmen, on the assessors line items, the Board of Selectmen are recommending the advisory committee amounts of $1,500 for two members, $3,500, $2,000 for a clerk, and the Board of Selectmen made a motion to accept that figure. And it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Opposed? There being none, it's unanimous. The operating budget. There's three motions to this article. Motion one, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $10,081,832 as the operating budget of the town is listed in the handout document titled Fiscal Year 26 Omnibus Budget Comparison. Water Enterprise Fund, and a PEG Access and Cable Related Fund. In the Advisory Committee Fiscal Year 26 budget request for the purposes in the amounts specified. And to meet said appropriation, raise the sum of $9,628,216 and to transfer the sum of $405,616 from free cash and to transfer a sum of $48,000 from the surplus overlay, and further vote that any state reimbursements which result to available funds to the Quabog Regional School District in excess of the approved budget shall be used to reduce the town assessment. Is there a second? Give me 1 second, folks, okay? The motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of motion 1 for Article 4, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. There being none, the motion passes. Motion 2, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $597,094 from the Water Enterprise revenue as the Water Enterprise Fund budget of the town as listed in the handout document.
Mr. Chair, may I have another moment, please?
Sure.
Article 4, based off of these numbers on this sheet. What we're going to say is we're going to go line item off of this sheet. Article of the green sheet.
So it's not the green sheet? It's not the green sheet.
The article for the, 4 is the omnibus budget. We'll then go over the line item.
Okay, because the second motion is not the same number that he read.
Oh.
I don't know where he's getting.
Folks, I apologize. On Article 4, we're going to go through the 3 motions, and then I will read the omnibus budget itself, okay, because it's all part of the one whole thing. Right. Right. So I apologize for that, but at least up front I told you it was a little confusing. So motion number 1, again, under Article 4.
This number right here is not what we read.
is I move the town appropriate the sum of $10,081,832 as the operating budget of the town as listed in the handout document fiscal year 26 omnibus budget comparison, Water Enterprise Fund, PEG Access and Cable Related Fund, in the Advisory Committee fiscal year 26 budget request for the purposes and the amount specified, and to meet the appropriation, raise the sum of $9,628,216 and to transfer the sum of $405,016 from free cash and to transfer a sum of $48,000 from the surplus overlay, and further vote that any state reimbursement which results in available funds in the Quabog Regional School District in excess of the approved budget shall be used to reduce the town assessment. The omnibus budget. Moderator, $450. For fiscal 26, it stays the same. Selectmen salaries, $147,665. Selectmen expenses, $12,280. And if at any point I'm going through this whole list, folks, if you want to put a hold on something to talk about it later, please just yell out "hold," and we'll come back to it, because there's a lot of lines. The advisory committee salaries, $2,386. Their expenses, $400. The reserve fund, $50,000. The accountant salaries, $91,750. Expenses are $33,608. The assessor's office salaries, $40,157. Assessor's expenses, $88,738. Treasurer, $140,604 in salary. Expenses, $54,232. Legal counsel, $60,000. Computer technology, no salaries. Expenses, $63,750. Town clerk salaries, $60,058. Town clerk expenses, $3,947. Elections and registrations, salaries of $4,187. Expenses of $12,900. Conservation, salaries of $2,450. Expenses are $2,165. Planning board, salaries are $1,865. Expenses $1,000. Zoning board, salaries are $900. Expenses $1,150. Earth removal board, salaries $336. Expenses $50. Town hall, salaries are $13,998. Expenses are $56,960. Town reports, there are no salaries. Expenses are $3,000. Police department, salaries $721,808. Expenses $73,475. Parking clerk salary $115. Fire department, salaries $109,753. Expenses $77,500. Ambulance service $60,000. Building inspector, salaries of $19,408. Expenses $2,831. The gas inspector, a salary $1,120. Expenses are $300. Plumbing inspector, salary $2,295. Expenses $150. Electrical inspection, salaries $11,649. Expenses $300. Zoning enforcement, $11,303 salary, expenses $100. Animal inspector, salary $1,439, expenses $300. Emergency management, salaries $4,300, expenses $4,000. Animal control, salary $6,475, expenses $500. Tree warden, salary $2,500, expenses $41,500. Education, $5,000,000. $1,315. Transportation, $510,089. Assessment from $3,921,051. Above the minimum, we have $570,175, and the debt service is $0. Vocational education, $228,218. Transportation is $9,000, and tuitions are $219,218. The highway department, salary is $417,579. Expenses are $182,896. Winter roads, salaries are $22,094. The expenses are $107,950. Municipal lighting expenses are $43,000. CMRPC expenses, $1,242. I'm sorry? Thank you. Central Fuel Depot, expenses of $59,900. Landfill expenses, $33,600. The cemetery, salaries of $24,716, expenses of $5,550. Board of Health, salary for $34,208, expenses $4,620. Council on Aging, salaries $79,088, expenses $34,178. Veteran Services, salaries $4,065, expenses $25,000. The library, salaries of $140,696, expenses of $74,225. Recreation, salaries $12,364, expenses $5,780. Historical expenses are $2,984. Celebrations is an expense at $2,500. Lake Wickabog, expense $26,000. Common, expense $2,920. Debt services, town and school, principal payments are $159,000. Temporary notes, interest on bonded debts, $30,509. Borrowing expense, $1,500. Miscellaneous interest, $100. CMRPC expenses $1,242. Group health insurance $491,000. Worcester County. Hold on the health insurance. Yes?
Yes.
Worcester County retirement $489,334. Medicare expense $35,000. Group life insurance, $500. General insurance, $176,055. Drop-off center salaries, $9,938. expenses $3,500. Agricultural Commission, there are no salaries, expenses are $600. Stormwater salary, $3,521, expenses $500. Totals are salaries, $2,147,260, expenses $7,934,572, for the total of that of $10,081,832. Now, we had a hold on computer technology. I assume there's a discussion on that? Sure.
Okay. David Brown, Rodman Street. I just have a question on the reason for that increase. It's about a $15,000 increase.
Sure. Teresa?
The reason for the increase is that the IT firm that the town uses, at the time they had been originally contracted with the town, they had not the town had not included the senior center in that.
Okay.
So they've been operating completely disconnected from the town's service. So now they have the same MPS service as provided town. It provides them the security, it avoids cyber attacks, and it's very important for the senior center because there is data housed that holds a lot of personal information of the patrons, and we really needed to get that in place.
Makes perfect sense. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions on that? There being none, the next hold was on the town clerk line item.
We have lost previous town clerk and employees just because they didn't get enough money. We went, talked to people, and said, oh, you can only bring it up at town meeting, town annual meeting. Here we are. So I move we increase the salary of the town clerk office, which represents 3 people. Maybe we should increase it 10%. I see advisory went up 17%. Town accountant went up 9%. I mean, town clerk does all the daily work. Everybody comes in. They should be getting more money. They're not getting anywhere near what they deserve, and they quit. So I move that we increase their salary. Let's give them 10%.
Did you write that on a motion,
Yep.
Mr. Merrill?
That's what you got to do. You're not budgeting properly. Look at the school, got 9%, no problem.
Okay, so we still have to, we have state mandates that we have to cover. These are, one of those positions in the town clerk's office is elected. If that goes to an appointed position, it's much easier for us to raise those salaries than an elected position. We don't have, we need to know where the money can come from. So when you tell us, we're doing,
That's
we're
your
working-
situation. Everybody else on here got increases. Everybody.
That's not true.
Well, you got 17%.
Tim,
Oh, I don't get anything.
Okay, I'm not going to speak anymore, but I don't like the idea of losing really valuable employees in the town because we're not paying them enough. That's enough.
is there any other comments or discussion? There was a hold on the electrical inspector line item.
Sorry. Lester Paquette Jr., 218 Pierce Road. Just looking at the numbers going up, again, building inspector, all the other plumbing inspector, everybody was pretty much level, but our electrical inspector, well, can anyone speak to that?
Advisory or selectmen? Teresa?
The reason for the increase is that last year, the town voted for $12,000 for the electrical inspector for the solar array, the large solar projects for those inspections. And the solar projects were slated to be finished this fiscal year. Unfortunately, the projects themselves have gone on hold. And as they're working to redesign, we needed to take the remaining funds. He was able to draw some of it down on the inspections that he was able to complete. And those inspections will happen hopefully during this fiscal year. That's why those funds have been there. In addition, it's important to note that the firm constructing the solar arrays have already paid that $12,000 and change to the town for those services. So that's monies that's received, but that goes into the general fund and returns to us in the form of free cash. So therefore, the remaining balance that was not drawn is on this budget.
Are there any other questions? Lester? All set? Is there any other discussion on that item? Someone wanted to hold recreation.
Amy Paquette, 218 Pierce Road. Recreation was increased by quite a bit on the budget. Just wondering what services might be provided for that additional amount.
Teresa?
The additional amount for that budget is, last year you didn't have the funds in place for lifeguards for the beach, and that amount will fund for lifeguards to be present at the beach.
Okay. Is that including swimming lessons as well?
It's my understanding that they do have someone that does provide swimming lessons, and they hope to continue that again this year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions on that line item? Next up there was a hold on the group health insurance.
Hi, Barbara Portel from 29 Highland Trail. So our group health insurance expenses increased by nearly $150,000 or 42%. I'm just wondering as to what is driving that magnitude of increase. And also my second question is, when was the last time that we put this insurance policy or these benefit programs out to bid?
Jillian, you're going to answer that? Jillian is our treasurer and tax collector.
Hi. I'm Jillian Pash. Do you want to use this one?
Sorry about that. I'm Jillian Patch. I'm the treasurer collector. The reason for that increase is just overall, health insurance did go up 19%. So that's every plan across the board, 19%. We also last year had many changes. As you heard at the beginning of the meeting, there were a lot of employees that left and a lot of employees that started. Just last fiscal year, which we voted on at the special town meeting, we had a deficit of $20,000 just due to the changes that had happened during the fiscal year. We had only budgeted for one individual increase during the fiscal 25 budget process. and we ended up having 3 family plans added and 1 individual PPO plan just last fiscal year. This year, I wanted to make sure that we weren't in a deficit again, and so I did add additional policies for employees to come on during the fiscal year. It is something that we don't know what's going to happen. I couldn't tell you. People's open enrollments, their spouses' open enrollments happen throughout the year, and they may choose to get off of their plan and to come on ours. So now we've added some extra policies into that line so that we don't have a deficit like we did this year, asking for money at a special town meeting. And then as well as the 19% increase. As well as addressing your question about going out to bid and change. The carrier is Maya, and it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. Maya is who we use for the carrier. And we did talk to them this year because of the high increase. We did ask them what would need to happen in order to make changes to the plan. It is a good plan. However, right now we do have some union contracts that do stipulate the exact plan information, and in order to make changes, those union contracts would need to be changed. So an MOU would be required, and then we were also looking into possibly creating an insurance advisory commission once that was done to look into changing the plans.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Jillian.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Barbara? You all set? Any other discussion on the health insurance? And I believe I got all the holds. Did I miss any hold? I guess not. All right, on the second motion with regards to the budget. You want to vote that first one first? We're going to call that the motion 1 in its entirety. Is there a second? Is there any, I'm sorry, advisory board? Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There being none, motion 1 of Article 4 passes. Motion 2, I move the town appropriate the sum of $597,094 from water enterprise revenue as the water enterprise fund budget of the town as listed in the handout document titled Fiscal Year 26 Omnibus Budget Comparison Water Enterprise Fund, PEG Access and Cable Related Fund, in the Advisory Committee Fiscal Year 26 Budget Recommendation for the purposes and in the amounts specified. Is there a second?
Mr. Moderator, we need to amend the motion to $599,743,000.
The motion is on line 1, Mr. Selectman, 597 to 599.
Yes, sir.
And what was the 599 what?
599,743.
There is a motion on the floor to amend motion 2 to substitute in line 1, $597,094 to $599,743. Is there a second? This part of the vote, we're only voting on that change in the figure. Advisory Board? Selectmen?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir. Would you stand up, please, and
Phil Guerin, 101 Wickabog Valley Road, and Chair of the Board of Water Commissioners. Are we going to the line items in the Water Enterprise Fund also? Because I do have an amendment to offer on the salary line item.
I believe, I believe that was in the line item of the omnibus budget. I just believe you, I did read it out, but the salaries for fiscal '26 was $196,803.
And I want to hold on that for an amendment.
We sort of already voted on it, Walter.
We have not, no, we haven't voted on it.
Here, you got it. This is it here. This is the water. This is the cable. So we're doing this one now. But first you're just taking up the
All right,
motion
so,
to amend.
yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, gotcha. Well, all we're doing right now is the motion to amend the amount of money, and then we'll get into that budget line item. Hang on one sec. So on what I'm reading now is the motion to amend the 597,000 to 599,743. And that's what we're voting on right now. And then we'll go into the line item. So just,
If the line item change, it'll change that vote.
it does. It does. It changes that number.
It'll be another.
Okay? So to repeat the motion, there is a motion to amend on line one of motion two, the amount from $597,094 to $599,743. Is there a second on that motion? Advisory?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dean.
Dean Wisniewski, Carter Street. Where would that money come from on the increase?
The number that the 599 is what we approved.
Could you use microphones, please? So, for what exactly are we changing? A typo?
Dean, could you stand?
It was just a typo, we're fixing that. The 599 is what, 743 is what we approved.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion on that motion? Yes, sir.
This is not on the merits of the motion. It's just about the volume of any of the commentary. I just would like to ask if someone is speaking, I'm showing my hearing loss, but it's very hard to hear what's going on. It's confusing. The selectman's microphone could be either turned up or to speak loudly would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other discussion on the amendment that we're proposing to change the figure only, please? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, the motion to amend is unanimous. The line item for the water department, you should have it. I did have it. I apologize. For fiscal 26, the recommendation is salaries $196,803. Expenses $402,940. Total salaries $196,803. Total expenses $402,940. And there is a hold. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Phil Guerin, 101 Wickabog Valley Road, Chair of the Water Commissioners. I would like to amend that salary line item further. You want me to read the amendment at this point?
Yes, please.
I move the town vote to amend the water enterprise salary line item to $198,068. That's $198,068. And the water enterprise total to $601,008. That's $601,008. This is a $1,265 increase to adjust the salary of the director, and it is funded through the Water Enterprise Fund from water rates.
A motion to amend the line item has been presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Advisory Board? Any comments?
I have a question. Not a selectman, Brad Merkel, 48 Central Street. When are the rates going to be raised to supplement that salary, or just any rates being raised in general?
Water rates we're talking about? So we have a commissioners meeting this month, the 13th, and we will be discussing rate increases at that time, which would then be followed by a public hearing on water rates with the intent to set or adjust water rates sometime in early July.
Okay. Do you guys plan on putting out a report? I know when I first moved to town, I got a water report that generalized everything with the town's water, PFAS, and everything else of that. Are you going to be representing that as well as an update?
There is we are required by the state to issue that water quality report every year. So that one is in the works, should be out before July 1st.
Thank you.
And Mr. Moderator, I can offer some background to this if...
Yeah, if someone else wants to add on the discussion, I didn't get an opinion from the Board of Selectmen on the motion to amend.
The Board of Selectmen have no recommendation. The Board of Selectmen have no recommendation.
With that in mind, is there any other discussion? The motion is to amend the line item for water to decrease the salary line, increase the salary line from $196,803 to $198,068, in the expense line from $402,940 to $601,008. So you're keeping the 402. Sorry about that, total. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Dean, could you take the microphone, though? Some people can't hear in the back.
Dean Wisniewski, Cottage Street. I have a question for, I guess, the advisory board. Just want to learn a little bit. We want to keep our employees, and I know the town clerk has been a struggle. I think we got a good individual and a good team there. And I know you mentioned that I don't know what happened to our Tim's proposal, but are we allowed to talk about that again, or
No,
to the advisory board, or is that a done deal?
that's done, Dean.
That's all done. So in the future, if we want to amend something, do we need to, you said, state where the money's going to come from?
You need to put a motion into the town clerk
Okay,
that you're amending it, and you need to give us a funding source when you do that.
okay, and that's for you to prepare for the next budget?
No, that's to
No,
amend
or that's
this,
up here?
because we have to make changes tonight to what our budget is.
Okay,
So that's all that is we just
All
have
right.
to know what the numbers are.
all right. So the money that, where did the pay raises come from for maybe your board as an example? And did that come from free cash, or how did some of the raises happen? Just want to learn that.
Well, we didn't give raises to the board. I mean, we don't have stipends on the advisory board. That's for our secretary.
Okay.
And that's because we had more meetings. We had over 20 meetings this year, so we had to pay,
Okay.
get our salaries up to where her meetings are.
But typically, my question is, where does that money come from? Is that come from free cash, or?
It comes from,
If I could interrupt for a minute.
Yes, please.
We're working on the motion that was made by the water department.
Okay.
To increase their line items.
Okay, I thought we voted for that already.
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm
So-
interrupting you.
Well, you're a little off subject, so.
Okay,
If
all
you
right.
wish, we
I
can.
apologize,
we can-
everybody.
We can, after the town meeting or another point.
Okay.
I'm sure we can have the
All right.
advisory board help you out with that.
All right, so out of ignorance, and I won't take you from that vote much longer, but why is it then that the proposal that Tim had get passed over without any
Tim did not-
discussion of what happened there? So
Tim did not fully complete the motion to amend.
Okay,
That's all.
and that's all. So we needed to go he needed to go a step or two further. This is just knowledge for me in
Yes,
the
sir.
future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Yes, Tammy.
Could someone explain exactly what the increase, could someone explain the increase, what that represents?
Phil Guerin, 101 Wickabog Valley Road. So the background on this is our water director, water superintendent was appointed in 2011, and since that time has been subject to salary step increases that were not on schedule as stipulated in the town's employee handbook. He has missed annual salary increases, and then those misses have been made up or partly made up in subsequent years, which led us to probably the last 5 years or maybe more, a lot of controversy about whether the superintendent was getting adequately compensated as he should have been. So my attempt to resolve this was to look at his entire salary history. Since 2011, we know what his starting pay was, we know what his step was, that's documented. And to give him the steps, 4% step increases as stipulated in the employee handbook, and then give him the 2% increases that have been the norm for the last 7 years. We don't have a lot of information or any information on what annual increases were before, but 2% seems to be where the town has settled on. So if I do that math, I come out with the number that I'm offering in this amendment. And that constitutes about a 4% increase for the director versus the 2% that, or 2.5% that other employees will be getting. And it would resolve the issue of whether his pay is what it should be.
Is there any further discussion? Any other questions? So to repeat the motion, the motion is to adjust the salary item line for the water department from $196,803 to $198,068, and the expenses, that amount will remain the same. If there's no other discussion, is there a second? Yes, sir.
So the administrator has been researching this for the past month or so. Every year, for the past several years, this has come up. We just want to make it clear that if this passes, what do you want me to say? That this resolves the issue. Wes won't be coming back again next year saying that we owe him more money.
At the joint meeting between the advisory committee and the select board within the last several days, actually, the salary budget had been recommended. Wes was present, and then we did conclude that meeting with the directive given by the select board that we would continue to investigate the history to find out if in fact step increases had been missed, what those amounts are, and all of that. So I guess the question that I would have is, if this passes tonight, does that put this to bed once and for all, no more research to be done?
Please, Mr. Gearon, you want to address that?
Well, I don't, I can't speak for Wes and what he may plan to do. As far as I'm concerned, this puts his salary where it should be for 2026. And that's based on, again, 4% step increases and 2% increases each year since 2011.
So I know that you're basing it on the average of a 2% increase each year, and that in the software, right, so that's real data, there had showed a couple of times where there were 0% increases. And I've been informed by other department folks that have been employed by the town of West Brookfield during those timeframes, and had been informed that in fact there had been years of 0% increase, and that was one of the reasons that a union was put forth, because they were not happy with the fact that there was a 0% increase. And so we are diligently, going to be working through this. It's just I'm not sure that we have all the data to land on a number, and therefore we presented to go forward with what everyone else that is not in contract or in a union that has a higher percentage. All the other town employees this year were receiving a 2.5% increase, and we thought it was at least fair enough to get us to that point while we research the history. So that's just the information I want to share with you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Is there any other discussion? Dean?
I'm just curious. What does the employee feel is fair? From my understanding, he's gone many years without increase that was due to him from the past. Is this acceptable to that individual? We don't want disgruntled employees for our community. Thank you.
Dean, I'll address that for you. At this stage of the game, the town meeting is not the venue to discuss that. That should be discussed outside of town meeting. And if that's the case, then there's the proper avenue to do that, but that proper avenue is not the town meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
I would like to address that comment to say that certainly the employee has raised the concerns and needs those answers, and it is very important for the town to stand good by their employees and figure it out. And if, in fact, this gentleman is owed money, he will be paid back every dime that is owed to him. That is important to the town to make sure that that happens. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Every employee deserves to be paid what they are to be paid by law.
So, folks,
So, Gail Kamara Marks. And that's good. Do you know what I'm saying? However, we're setting a budget. And so if there's no increase, how are you going to pay him? So then the motion as presented should pass.
The issue that I see here is that one of the water commissioners has made the statement that if this increase is passed, that the issue will go away. And I don't think that that is consistent with our understanding. So if we know there's an issue with this individual, and it seems appropriate that his commissioners have acknowledged the need for an additional increase that they're going to find within their budget ultimately. I personally, I'm not talking for the committee, I personally don't have an issue with that, but what I do have an issue with is the commissioners making a statement on behalf of an employee that may not be consistent with that employee's
and
back
we're
pay
getting off,
situation.
we're getting off the rail here. There is a motion before the town meeting to change a line item, and that is the motion. Everything else is not appropriate to extend any further in discussion.
Bill-
The people have a right to vote for the motion, either yay or nay.
Included in his motion was the comment that the issue will go away if this motion is passed. So the issue, if it's a motion, it needs to be in writing and it needs to exclude any suggestion.
MJ, with all due respect, I'm reading the motion. Amend the water enterprise salary line item to $198,068 and the water total to $601,008. This is a $1,265 increase to adjust the salary of the director, funded through water enterprise from water rates. That's the written motion. And that's what the town meeting is voting on. Whether there is an employee or something that needs to be discussed, this is not the forum for that. So we'll get back to the motion. And we were done discussion, but Lester, do you have more to?
That's, again, Lester Paquette Jr., 218 Pierce Road. I was going to say, is this the correct format to increase the budget for salaries for water department employees, and if further investigation reveals that that other employees are not due this money, that it could be returned to the free cash fund if it's not used?
Mr. Peck, I will answer, that would be a subject for, if that came up on another matter. Again, this motion is to increase a fiscal year '26 budget for the water department. It's not for any one individual. If that's the way they use it, that's the way they use it.
That's okay. It's for the salary.
For the salary account.
Correct format.
So if they adjust their salary account next year, then that will be for fiscal year '27.
If that money's not used.
Then it will go to free cash. Is there any other discussion on the motion? I didn't hear that. There being none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. No. The ayes have it, the motion is passed. Finally, motion 3 on Article 4. I move the town appropriate the sum of $57,600 from the PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund revenue as the PEG Access Cable-Related Fund budget of the town as listed in the handout entitled Fiscal Year 26.
Mr. Moderator, could you hold, please?
I'm sorry, you're right. Took a while just to do that. So that was the amendment, so I'm sorry, the motion is now in play. The motion is to move the town appropriate the sum of $599,743. $601,008 from the water enterprise revenue as the water enterprise fund budget of the town as listed in the handout document entitled Fiscal Year 26 Omnibus Budget Comparison, Water Enterprise Fund, PEG Access and Cable Related Fund, and the Advisory Committee Fiscal Year 26 Budget Recommendation for the purpose and in the amount specified. It was sponsored by the Advisory Board recommendation. Select Board.
The Select Board does not recommend approval.
Is there any discussion on the motion itself? There being none, all in favor of the motion? Aye. All opposed? No. The motion has passed. Motion 3, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $57,600 from PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund Reserve as the PEG Access Cable-Related Fund budget of the town as listed in the handout document titled Fiscal Year 26 Omnibus Budget Comparison, Water Enterprise Fund, PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund, in the Advisory Committee Fiscal Year 26 Budget Recommendation for the purposes and the amount specified. Is there a second?
Second.
Advisory Board? Board of Selectmen?
The Select Board recommends approval.
Yes, sir. Can you step forward to the microphone?
Paul LaPennis, 38 Ware Point Road. So I'm the chairman of the Cable Advisory Committee that's been working to restart the West Brookfield Community TV studio to get it broadcasting again after over 7 years of darkness. I encourage you to vote in support of this article to provide the operating funding in order to make that happen. The funds are not taxpayer dollars. They don't come from the general fund at all. These funds are the result of contractual obligations that Charter Spectrum has with the town to provide about $20,000 a year for the purpose of broadcasting meaningful local government and activities to its subscribers and its residents. The account is called PEG, which represents public education and government, and the funds we're asking for have been accumulated over the past 7 years and can only be used for this purpose. Our committee includes Ryan Shepard behind the camera over there, and Eric Von Blyken, our former chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I encourage you to vote in favor of shedding light onto this meeting and meetings like it and activities that make this town work for us all. Thank you.
And with that in mind, the particulars on those figures for that motion is the cable access salary account would be $19,500. The expenses would be $38,100 for a total of $57,600, which is the figure in line 1 of the motion. So is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is passed. Article 5. There is a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 5. Is there a second? Advisory? Select.
Select Board recommends to postpone.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of postponing indefinitely Article 5? Aye. All opposed? The article passes. Article 6 is to establish and authorize a revolving fund for the recreation programs. I move that the town, pursuant to Chapter Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to establish a new revolving fund to be known as the Recreation Program, and further to establish a fiscal year expenditure limit of $15,000 for such fund, to be applicable from fiscal year to fiscal year, unless amended by town meeting prior to July 1 in any fiscal year, as listed in the town warrant. Is there a second? Second. Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion? Aye. All opposed? There being none, Article 6 is passed. Article 7, spending limit on revolving funds. I move that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to establish annual expenditure limits for the following revolving funds established in the town's general bylaws as listed in the annual town meeting warrant. Article 7, line 1, cemetery, spending limit $16,000. Article line 2, stormwater, spending limit $25,000. Line 3, tree warden, spending limit $10,000. It's been sponsored by the burial ground, stormwater, and tree warden. Is there a second? Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of Article 7, vote yes. Aye. Aye. Opposed, vote no. The ayes have it, the article is passed. Article 8, repairs to private ways account. I move that the town vote to transfer $10,000 from free cash to be placed in the repairs to private ways account to pay for repairs to private ways within West Brookfield pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 6N, and Chapter 12, Section 8 of the general bylaws, and further that all repairs made to private ways will be completed in strict adherence to all applicable state laws in West Brookfield bylaws. Is there a second? Second. Advisory? Board of Selectmen?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the article say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it, the article is passed. Article 9, townwide building maintenance account. I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be placed in the townwide building maintenance account and to meet said appropriation transfer from free cash in the sum of $25,000. Sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a second? Advisory recommendation? Board of Selectmen?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, say no. Article 9 has passed. Article 10, various capital improvement projects. Motion 1 of Article 10. I move that the town vote to transfer $295,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding various capital improvement projects for purchasing capital improvement items as recommended by the Capital Improvement Committee, said purpose and funding amounts being as follows. Town road maintenance, $75,000 for repairs of various town roads that are not funded through state or federal funds, example, potholes, crack sealing, etc. Route 9, Phase 1 and 2, additional funding, which is required by the Mass Department of Transportation, $65,500 for the town's portion costs of the additional engineering needed for the ongoing Route 9 roadway improvements, and this is required by the Mass DOT. Senior Center Safety, Mass Works Grant, engineering costs contingent upon getting a $1 million grant. The amount is $100,000. $100,000 would be used as the required in-kind match for engineering services contingent upon receiving a $1 million Mass Works grant for road safety work at the intersection of Central and Front Streets. Town Hall security, including evidence room remodel, $55,000. Surveillance system for the exterior and interior of the Town Hall, also included is renovation of Police Department evidence room. On motion 1 of Article 10, Advisory Board, Select Board,
Select Board recommends approval.
is there any discussion on this particular part of the article, motion 1? There being none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion passes. Motion 2 of the article, I move the town vote to transfer $200,000 from the water stabilization for the purpose of funding various capital improvement projects or for purchasing capital improvement items as recommended by the Water Commissioners, said purposes and funding amounts being as follows. Water Point Water Treatment Plant Facility Assessment, $18,000 for an engineering firm to inspect the 40-year-old facility. A new mower, $4,000, needed for mowing large fields around Leland Road wells and grounds around the Ware Point Treatment Facility. Replacement well at the Ware Point Treatment Plant, Phase 1, $100,000. Phase 1 includes engineering design, permitting, pump test, contract bidding, and contract oversight. The Leland Road Treatment Plant, $30,000 for initial costs and fees related to securing the SRF or other financial options, loans, and other costs for engineering that may not be SRF eligible. Water meeting reading software upgrades, $13,000. New meter reading software and hardware to replace outdated equipment that cannot read new meters. SCADA for Water Point Treatment Plant, $35,000. For purchase and installation of supervisory control and data acquisition, which is the control system used in modern water and wastewater treatment plants. Mass DEP is requiring West Brookfield to add the SCADA at Ware Point. This motion will take a 2/3 vote, and because it's 2/3, our bylaws demand that a 2/3 vote be by secret ballot. However, if I can get a motion to suspend the secret ballot, we shall do it that way. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? The requirement for secret ballot has been removed, and a 2/3 vote. I'll try it by voice vote first, so all in favor say aye.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
I believe we need to vote on removing the secret ballot after the
We did.
motion was made? No, we just made the,
We did. They said yes.
We did a motion, we did a second, but there was no vote.
The motion was made to suspend secret ballot. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of suspending the secret ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed? There being none, the secret ballot is suspended. And again, we'll try this motion by voice, and if I can figure that out, that would be great. So all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? There being none, the two-thirds majority has been met, and the motion passes. So those are the two motions, both motions passed. So, Article 10, I've read the motion. The move is the town vote to transfer $295,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding various capital improvement projects or for capital improvement items as recommended by the Capital Improvement Committee,
Mr. Moderator?
et cetera.
I believe we're on Article 11 now.
No, we haven't voted on Article 10.
We just voted on Article 10, sir.
We voted on the two motions separately. Now we're going to take the article. Okay. Okay. Article 11, in-kind funds for the master plan update grant. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $11,000 as an in-kind match for the planning services to update the town's master plan, contingent upon receiving a $139,000 Rural and Small Town Development Fund grant sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a second? Advisory Board? Board of Selectmen.
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of Article 11, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Article 12, in-kind funds Green Communities Grant. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $9,441 to be used as an in-kind match to the $189,000 grant funding awarded to the town through the Green Communities Program by the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources for energy conservation projects at the elementary school, the fire station, and highway department. Sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a second? Advisory Board? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The motion passes. Article 13, Leland Road Pump Station Upgrade Project. I move the town vote to adopt as written in the warrant. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $6,240,000 for the purpose of financing construction and construction administration of the Leland Road Pump Station Upgrade Project, including, without limitation, all costs thereof as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the General Laws, as most recently amended by Statute 1998-78, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow $6,240,000 and issue bonds or notes thereof under Chapter 44 of the General Laws and/or Chapter 29C of the General Laws, as most recently amended by Statute 1998-78, that such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the town unless the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, determine that they should be issued as limited obligations and may be secured by local system revenues as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C, as most recently amended by Stat 1998 C78. That the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow all or any portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust established pursuant to Chapter 29C, as most recently amended by 1998-78, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement and/or security agreement with the trust, and otherwise to contract with the trust and the Department of Environmental Protection with respect to such loan and for any available federal financial assistance, including the United States Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Program, or any state aid available for the project or for the financing thereof, that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection to expand all funds available for the project and to take any other action necessary to carry this project out. Is there a second? Advisory? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Phil Guerin, 101 Wickabog Valley Road, and Chair of the Water Commissioners. So this is a big item. I just wanted to make sure everyone is clear at what we're doing here. The town administrator did a nice job on this blue two-piece flyer here, explaining what it's about. I just want to reiterate some of the high points. We have increasing levels of iron and manganese. These are naturally occurring contaminants in groundwater at our Leland Road Pump Station well field. We don't presently have any way to remove that. Mass DEP has ordered us to take action to lower those or correct those levels and keep them below levels that may be of health concern. We have a February 2022 notice of non-compliance from Mass DEP. We cannot ignore that. So what we're trying to do here tonight is, through this vote, get loan authorization to get $6.24 million to build a iron and manganese treatment facility for Leland Road. Not building the facility is not an option, because if we don't do it, DEP is going to come in here, they're going to give us an administrative order, and then they're going to give us the schedule to do it, and if we don't, then they can fine us $25,000 per day of violation. The intent is to pay the debt on this project through water rates, so anyone paying a water bill connected to the water system is paying for this. But if we choose not to do it and DEP comes in and starts fining us, they fine the town. So that means everybody is going to be paying for this, whether you're on the water system or not, if DEP steps in. It's a big hit for a small town. We're not the only ones in this boat, but here it is before us. What we're trying to do is find the best options available for financing this project. We have applied to the state revolving fund and have been approved for $6.24 million. But to secure that financing, we have to have this loan authorization by June 30th to them in a certified vote of town meeting. So it's, again, there's no options here. If we don't use the state revolving fund or get some money from the USDA, which is another option we're pursuing, then we're borrowing this money on the market, and we're probably looking at, I don't know, what is the town going to borrow at, 6%? Versus the SRF, the worst case is 2% interest, and we're likely to do better than that because of our provisions for loan forgiveness. Essentially, they're giving you part of the money could be in the form of a grant if we go with the SRF. So that's our best option. We need to secure it. The SRF is on shaky grounds. They have the money authorized now, but the future, 2 years down the road, there may not be an SRF. So if we don't grab this now, we're probably not going to get it. And then we're going to be looking at other options that are a lot less friendly for funding this project. DEP's ordered it. It will improve water quality and make our water system more reliable, which is all good. We need this treatment, at that well field in order to utilize it to its best and to provide you all with the best water. So I'm hoping you vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Is there any other discussion?
Test. Brad Merkel, 48 Central Street. As a customer, I know you mentioned the rates are going to be obviously increased. That's going to be addressed in the next few months. I'm in support of this article. But with the increase and better chance of water quality, are you looking to add more customers, reach out to more of the public to subsidize some of that hit for the water customers that are present right now?
So we have not entertained that thought. I don't know how many customers are out there that are looking to join the water system. Certainly, we'd be open to anyone who's on a private well now, or if there's areas that could be supported by the water system for new development. We would certainly entertain that.
Is there any other discussion? Oops. There being none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. There being none, the motion is passed. Article 14, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 64G, Section 3A, authorizing the imposition of a 6% local excise on the rental of rooms in hotels, motels, lodging houses, and bed and breakfast establishments within the town. Sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a second? Second. Advisory Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Advisory. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the article, vote aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. No. The article passes. Article 15, zoning bylaw amendment. Again, this is a 2/3 vote.
Mr. Moderator, we need to take a minute, please.
Sure.
The Article 13 Leland Road Pump Water Station article is supposed to be a 2/3 vote, which would be a secret ballot. We did not make a motion to waive that.
Didn't hear a word of that.
We waived the secret ballot. I don't think I specified. Huh? I gotta be fair to the people though, so no. I did not specify the suspension of the 2/3 vote. I meant to specify that it applies for our whole meeting, but I did not. I'm sorry?
I move that we suspend the secret ballot on.
Is there any discussion? You said Article 13, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and I apologize for that, my error. All in favor of suspending the 2/3 vote requirement, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The 2/3 vote is suspended. Article 13 on Leland Road Pump Station. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The 2/3 has been met and the article passes. Thank you for that, folks. And I just did it again because the next one's a 2/3. Getting old, I guess. Article 15, Article 14, the excise tax adoption room occupancy. We already passed that. Article 15, zoning bylaw. Any zoning bylaw change requires a 2/3 vote. I would like a motion to suspend the 2/3 vote requirement for Article 15. It's been seconded and moved. Is there any discussion? All in favor of waiving the secret ballot, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The 2/3 vote requirement is suspended. Secret ballot is suspended. I move that the town vote to amend the Town of West Brookfield zoning bylaws by amending Section 3.23, commercial use, by adding Section 17, indoor storage, as shown in Article 21 of the annual town meeting warrant, sponsored by the planning board, and I'm sure there'll be some discussions. Is there a second? Advisory board? Select Board?
Select Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion, Mr. Morel?
All I can tell you is, why is the planning board placing this article on the town meeting warrant? It's because to allow indoor storage by special permit in rural, I can hear myself. All right. All right. I'm Tim Morrell. I'm on Old Warren Road. Okay, that got me? All right, here we go. It's for indoor storage by special permit. That means the ZBA will be doing the permitting in rural residential, rural neighborhood, and the general district using a pre-existing accessory building. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 40A, Section 5, adoption or change of zoning ordinance and bylaws, the planning board held a public hearing on Monday, 5th of May, 2025 at 7 p.m. 2 members of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the West Brookfield Fire Department chief were in attendance. There were no members in general public in attendance. After discussion of the proposal to consider amending Section 323 commercial use by adding Section 17 indoor storage, a motion was made to recommend approval of said amendment and present it at the annual town meeting. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Morel. Are there any questions for Mr. Morel? Is there any other discussions on this zoning change? There being none, all those in favor of Article 15 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. There being none, the article passes. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would appreciate a motion to dissolve the June 3rd, 2025 annual town meeting. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Meeting is dissolved.